Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody's doing good tonight. We got quite a few people on already, so I saw a couple of you messaging on the chats like at 8:15 or something earlier, so you guys have been on for a while. Oh, how's it going, Dan?
I'm alive.
Yeah. Yep. How's your I haven't heard anything about your barn lately. Is it like done now, or?
It's been on a standstill. I just got the overhead doors in. They were on back order for the longest time, and got them delivered in about 2-3 days ago. And I called my brother up and said, "Hey, get your crew over here. I got the doors." And he said, "Oh, I thought we had to pick those up." I'm like, "No, they're sitting here. Get over here." I don't know when he'll show. He's probably on a different project, but
yeah,
slow down dramatically.
Yeah,
the building is up though. It's just got big holes where the doors go.
Yeah, well, I saw it in a couple videos or whatever, just glimpses of it. Like you could tell there wasn't any doors on it, but that's cool though. Maybe by the time scouting season comes around and workshops and stuff, it'll be all done.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll get concrete until after that now.
Yeah,
I got to get electrical in yet though. I just now hunting's kind of taking a priority.
Yeah, right. Yeah, my dad's doing a house right now, and it's that's what he said. I was helping him yesterday with some of the stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know how much I'll get to hunt here in November yet." I'm like, "Yeah, bad time to be working on stuff."
Right.
Oh well. We kind of got a lot to talk about tonight. We got like 3 videos to kind of go over tonight, but you had another little rough hunt, another string of bad luck.
Yeah, I went out hunting with my buddy Pete, and we went to a spot that he showed me originally many years ago. And he went on one end of the property, I went to the other end, and I went to a place I scouted in spring, but I hadn't really been in a lot. And I found a funnel of real heavy deer traffic between a doe and buck bedding area. And it just looked like a good spot to set up. So I kind of went in there, and I found that area. The trouble was it was all buckthorn. And what I remembered from spring is that there was a couple of box elder trees in there that looked like you could set up in them. But getting down there now, all the leaves were off of them. And if you set up in there, you'd glow. They were pretty small trees to begin with. So I got in there, and it looked like there's a lot of sign. You could see where the bucks were going down trails that had, like little caves that went into the thick cover where they'd get their antlers through. And you could see the big tracks and all those little cave trails coming out, and fresh tracks and real big. So I knew there was something big running in there. It all looked like the same track and lots of them. So he had to be right around in there. And I really struggled with a setup. And I ended up in a, one of those invasive species, what are those, buckthorn tree.
Mm-hmm.
That was really nasty. I got to stand up about 4 feet off the ground. But you know what that buckthorn is? It kills all the vegetation underneath.
Yeah.
You could not sit on the ground. But just at 4 feet off the ground, elevating my feet, I could nestle myself into the trunk with all them thorny branches. And there's a little natural hole there. And got inside of that tree. And I no more than got set up, and I was doing my intro on the video. and I hear something, and I look up and there's a buck walking in, and I get the camera on the opening, and there's an opening that's gonna walk right by me at 25 yards, maybe even closer, 20, 25, somewhere right in there. And I get the camera on there and I get the bow up, and I could have rushed a shot, but I didn't want to wound it after what happened the first time, So I just let him walk, and I'm figuring he's just going to keep walking because he's not walking in a direction I have a shot.
Yeah.
He's walking into thick cover if he gets through that. So I just let him go. And he starts rubbing all these trees in there and just attacking those trees. And then when he got down to like the third tree, he turned and started going like 90 degrees and coming back through. And I'm like, oh, I have an opening over there, and it looked like he was going to hit that opening. And I had ranged that opening, but I couldn't quite range it because the rangefinder kept picking up stuff before that, like twigs and stuff. And I figured it was about 30 yards. And I aimed a little high, figuring if my arrow didn't really drop, and the deer dropped a little, I'd hit spine.
Yeah.
If it didn't drop, I'd hit the top of the lungs where I was aiming. If it dropped a little, it'd be through the middle of the lungs. I mean, it was a pretty much slam dunk shot, even, at 30 yards.
Yeah. And you should probably say, like, you only have one pin, so you're aiming high with your kind of your 20-yard pin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I didn't have time to really change it, but I took the shot, and it looked to me, from my point of view, like that arrow just sunk right through the vitals. And but what caught me off guard was when the buck ran, I heard the arrow hit brush.
Mm-hmm.
That's a distinct noise if you've ever heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was odd because the arrow should just zipped right through it. And I thought, well, maybe I caught the far shoulder. And I was all excited. I thought I blasted that thing. It was a big buck.
Yeah, it looked like a nice one.
Yeah. So I got down, went over there, and got on the track and found no blood. And 10 yards from where I shot him, where I heard the arrow in the brush, my arrow was laying there with the broadhead pulled out, and about a half inch of blood, if you want to even call it, more like meat.
Yeah.
On the arrow. And luckily it was a very soft earth down there, like swampy.
Yeah.
I was able to just follow his footprints. And he ran about 50 yards and then started walking and just wandering down the trails. And I found 3 drops of blood total.
Mm-hmm.
And he had turned around and followed this river. And then he J-hooked and spun around, and he was watching his back trail. When I walked past him, he stood up and hopped away, and he looked fine. He even looked back at me. Didn't even look like he was injured. So going over the footage when I got home, because I could not figure out what happened. First, I was thinking I shot him in the shoulder, but really in the shoulder, you'd even sink deeper than that. You'd sink into the blade a little bit, shoulder blade or whatever. But looking over the footage, the deer dropped, and my arrow really didn't drop that much. I dropped about an inch. So aiming high at the top of the lungs. When he dropped, my arrow hit the spine, which I was planning for. I had the spine to the bottom of, the lungs, which is a pretty big area on that nice broad shot. And I figured if I hit the spine, I got him anyways, because you're going to break the spine. But that's, 1 in 100 shot that doesn't break the spine was that shot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I've never seen one hit in the spine and it not, paralyze them.
Yeah. A lot of people were, a lot of people are saying you need to use a heavier arrow. I'm already using a pretty heavy arrow. You need to use a cut on contact, 1 bevel broadhead and stuff. I do kind of like those 1 bevel broadheads, but as far as the heavy arrow, I wouldn't have been able to shoot 30 yards with a heavy arrow without having it right down to the pin because of how far I drop. 30 yards I can shoot straight on with my bow, pretty much.
Right.
The only reason I was aiming a little high is if I was off on the yardage and it was 35 or something like that. But it was pretty much 30.
Yeah. What poundage do you shoot 60 pounds?
I shoot 50.
You shoot 50. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's another thing is like you get a heavy arrow and shoot 50 pounds. It's like kind of a double whammy with your pin gap, if you want to call it. I know you don't have pins per se; you just got one pin. But
yeah, I had a company send me a bunch of heavy arrows to try out and stuff. Man, I couldn't do anything with them. You can after 10 yards, I couldn't shoot nothing with my bow's not heavy enough for that.
Yeah, I'm shooting 70 pounds, and I was in Ohio last week. Not a whole lot to talk about with Ohio last week, but I was just there for 2 days. But yeah, I got to thinking like about adjusting my bow down to 65 pounds for the cold weather and stuff, because I had one hunt where I sat on the ground and I was kind of sitting on my butt, and your bow's like twice as hard to pull back whenever you don't have your lower body, engaged or anything. And I was like, I was like, man.
Yeah. I kind of like being able to do, it's not a contest of strength. So I like to slowly pull a bull back when a deer's there without him jerky movement or, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
No reason to have that lower poundage.
No. And this was just because I was in some awkward, like I was sitting on a log that was, on the ground kind of thing. But still, I mean, I still want to be able to controllably pull my bow back in those scenarios, especially on the ground. You can't afford to make some weird movement when you're sitting on the ground. But yeah, someone asked you if you had a range finder on the hunt. You did. Yeah. It's hard to like, whenever you're in those tight scenarios, if you haven't hunted down in like those swamps like that, it's extremely difficult to range something as a deer's coming in.
I had tried to range find it before he went there. I did see that hole and I did range find it, but the hole was only 6 foot round at 30 yards, and the rangefinder was picking up stuff to the outsides of the hole. Right. So every time I'd range it, it'd say 20, 19, and it's not 19 or 20, and I know that.
Yeah.
You hit the ground in front of it, and it's it's 27. It's got to be about 30. So.
Right, it is what it is.
Right.
Tough scenario. I was just looking through the comments here. There's some people asking questions, but I think we covered them all right there about this particular scenario. But yeah, like 4 years ago, I had a bow season where I wounded 2 bucks. Mine were both shoulder shots though, like dead center of the shoulder. That's pretty deflating whenever you shoot one in the shoulder and it just like you said, like you could just see the arrow just kind of going like that out of the thing.
It's like I don't know what causes it, but I go through stages like where every deer I see just falls over dead.
Yep.
And you just can't stop killing them if you want them dead. And then you go into these stages where you can't kill them and they're right there. I don't.
Oh yeah, I know. I've probably had 2 cycles like that. Like I said, one was a few years ago, and one was when I was younger. I had a rough season back then too, and it sucks. You feel like you don't even feel like yourself. It's like, what is going on with me?
There's a video on the page from a few years back. I mean, probably like 4 or 5 years back, where I did a video called "Can't Hardly Hit 'Em."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Oh well, you got time. Hopefully you're gonna.
Carol says it's time for me to admit I need glasses.
I would agree with her. I don't know if that's your problem or not, but I've seen you look at your phone and whatnot. So, yeah. Glasses are. I wear contacts. I can't shoot without my contacts in. But my problem is I can't. With my contacts out, the targets are real blurry, but with my contacts in, my pin's actually blurry. The glass or the contacts fixes the distance seeing, but makes it a little harder to see close. I can see my pins better without my contacts in.
If I squeeze my eye in like this,
yeah,
I can see really good, but I have a hard time doing that while I'm drawing the bow.
Right. Right. That's funny. There's a lot of people that wear glasses deer hunting. I've always been worried about because I used to wear glasses too, or I have glasses I can wear, but I always worry about like the reflection and stuff in my eyes, and I don't know.
I got free vision insurance at work. They'll even give you free glasses. And
Yeah.
I never go and I pay for it out of my check.
Yeah. Yeah, you ought to. It really does make a huge difference in the woods.
You should probably just go get that laser surgery. But that
Yeah.
only lasts like 5 years and your eyes go back out, ain't it?
I don't know anything about it. I've never looked into it. My eyes aren't like horrible. They're not like I'm blind or anything, but when the year I got glasses was me and my cousin were turkey hunting, and I guess there was a turkey out in the field strutting, and I could not see it. It looked, I don't know what was going on, but he's like, "It's right there. You can't see it." I'm like, "No, it was everything was far out, was blurry, you know." And I said, that finally made me go and get glasses, but so maybe something to think about. It may help you more than just hunting too, just life in general, just seeing.
So, I was
cool
practicing today and I couldn't see my pen.
Yeah.
I had to go into a shaded area to see it, and I just thought that was really odd. I should have been able to see it just fine.
Yep. And I don't even notice it anymore until I take my contacts out and try to do something. Like, oh man, especially driving. Like, whew, when I don't have my contacts in driving, I don't like it. And I'm not even that bad. Anyway, well, you'll come out of it. It just takes one good shot to change everything.
Right, tomorrow.
Right. You guys, I guess it's okay to talk about. You guys are coming down here tomorrow.
Yeah. So, Indiana bound.
Yep. Eric and Dan and Brad, my two buddies, are going to be here too. So that'll probably be. We'll probably do it.
Hunter, Brad or Brad? I think
do
Brad.
What? Brad's a better hunter.
Brad or Brad?
Yeah.
Brad is.
Oh, it'll be good. We might as well do a podcast when we're all down here together. That'll probably be a pretty good one.
Rick says he's bringing the van. I hope he makes it.
I couldn't tell in some of the comments in that video if people really thought he was stuck somewhere in Michigan or if they realized that.
Yeah, I got some pretty nasty emails about the way I treated him, not going back for him.
Yeah, I know. I saw him. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, he made it to the Battle of the Bows. You guys saw him in that video, so he's all right. He just dehydrated. That's what he told me.
Yeah, he drank a monster. Remember how many monsters me and Eric drank?
A whole bunch of them.
Yeah, case a day.
Yeah, that's a
case a day between the two of us, the white ones.
I should have told you. I don't know if I told this. I don't know if I told this story on last week's podcast, but I was laying I was in the middle cot, and then Dan and Eric were to my left and right, and I'm laying there. It's like 10 o'clock at night. We're going to bed to get up and hunt the next morning. And I look over, and Eric's like fiddling around underneath his cot, and he pulls out a monster, and he's like finishing his end of his monster at 10 o'clock at night as we're going to bed. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, he's got a little bit left. I'm like, you drank one of those right before bed? He's like, yeah. I'm like, my God, guys. And I drink energy drinks sometimes, but not like you guys do. My goodness. Oh, I like to drink those 5-hour ones. It makes me feel like I'm not, I don't have to pee so much whenever I drink one of those things. But a whole bunch of people are telling you get glasses, Dan. There's a bunch of people. I mean, I don't know what the percentage of the population is that has contacts or glasses, but I'm sure it's a high percentage. Yep. LASIK stuff. I'm not going to tell you that because I don't know what that's about. But anyway, cool. Got another video to talk about that was even more controversial than you shooting a deer in the spine and not finding it.
What's that?
Oh, you're standing up for Lou video you did.
It's funny when you read the comments because I'm like, did these people watch the same video I made? Because the comments don't match, especially outsider comments. I think people heard things, didn't watch the video, made comments. But in the video, I just basically said, John's a great guy. I like him. He's a good hunter, but that when he said that stealth strips specifically hold scent, that's damaging to a company. Yeah. And it was damaging to Lou.
Mhm.
And he shouldn't have did that. And I didn't mean that he's that I hate him or anything like that. I just said he shouldn't have said that. But he was right. It does hold scent. And I said that. I
Yeah.
said, but so does your bowstring. So does your straps on your sticks. So does your straps on your stand. So does your tether. All that stuff. And all that stuff you treat by spraying it down. I mean, just do the same thing with your stealth strips. I mean, that's what the video was about. It wasn't about bashing John or whatever. Um, he even
Yeah.
left some long rambling message on my YouTube that had nothing to do with the video. I even wonder if he watched it.
Yeah, I think everybody just assumed it was about scent control, and it was more or less just you standing up um, for Lou, and I guess to make like as a third party person like that knows you and Lou, like you guys, Lou does not sponsor you or give you money or anything to. Like people just thought you were standing up for some sponsorship product, and it's like that's not the case at all. Like
No, we're just
you,
buddies.
you and Lou been go way back, and
Yeah.
yeah, just friends essentially. Um, that was the only thing. That was the only comments that were annoying me was they were just saying that.
He was really upset. I mean, you're talking about a fellow Michiganer, or I mean, just
Yeah,
Lou just singling out his product, and he was really not happy about it.
yeah.
He
Luke,
was
Luke,
pretty angry. And
Luke
I
called me.
told him, I said, I don't think John meant anything bad about it. I don't think he meant to do that. It's just John. He just, I don't think he really
He's
realized
opinionated.
that he was, yeah,
Yeah,
that he was going to damage his product or company. I mean, Lou had people calling up wanting to send back the stealth strips and stuff, and
yeah,
it's like,
yeah. He called me about a week ago or more than that now, I guess, and was kind of venting to me about it too. About some guy called and wanted to return all their stealth strips, and he's like, "Could I ask why?" And like, he's like, "Well, John told me that it was, um, it smelled or what or held scent," and you know, um, but and like you said, it probably does, but um, oh well, yeah, it was. I I like watch a lot of John's stuff because he's like, dude, the guy kills a ton of deer. He killed a nice 8-pointer in Michigan the other day again, and I'm like I have a lot of respect for him because he is 70. I think he's 72 or 3, and like man, I hope to God, I mean, I hope I can still do what he's doing when I'm 73. Um, that'd be awesome, but. Yeah, I wish sometimes I think he should give more credit where credit is due though. Like instead of
exactly.
instead of um
I said that in
uh
my post. I said, John, you're a great hunter, and I think you should give yourself a little more credit instead of claiming that it's all because of a product. I
yeah, and
think that he himself is a good hunter, and that's why he's got some stuff on the wall.
yeah.
And it ain't really as much about scent lock as possible as he claims. I mean, if it
Mhm.
was all scent lock, I mean that's just taken away from him. I mean,
Uh, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's probably like one of the as far as like deer behavior and stuff and then where to set up on deer and stuff, he's probably like one of the best in the business at it.
mhm.
Um and I think that's you know, why he's so successful and whether his scent lock, I'm sure all that stuff helps minutely, but I think his credit needs to be to his knowledge and his woodsmanship. And I did hear something. I watched one of his videos the other day, and he mentioned like technology kills deer, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, man, John, know it. That's in my opinion, and it's just my opinion. What do I know? I've killed a fraction of what he has, but it's like that's going the wrong way. Like, it's like that's not the point of it to me, at least. It's like,
For me, and I mean, he made a comment about how I was like lying to my base. I don't remember the word he used. He used some long word for it, and telling them that scent control didn't work. And like, it's not a lie. It's just what I believe. I mean, I don't tell you you're lying because you tell people to use scent control, you know. But I am a little biased there because going on to what you're saying about technology, um, if scent control really worked the way he says it works, and you can be completely scent free and not get winded for 19 years, that's not fair. That goes beyond fair chase, in my opinion. Because literally, if you could take my scent away, I know I could just sneak right into bedding areas and sneak up on bedded deer and kill them. I mean, I sneak up to them now, with crosswinds and stuff, and get really close. If I could sneak up on their blind side and come in there on a wet, rainy, windy day, I mean, it wouldn't even be fair. So, I mean, I think that if scent control worked as good as what some people make it out to be, it would be unfair.
Yeah.
Just me. That's gonna probably get me bashed again, but whatever.
No, I don't know.
So I
don't. And who knows, man? He kills a lot of deer, so maybe it helps enough to matter.
You couldn't hunt the way I hunt and use scent control, anyways.
Yeah, I was
thinking a wet basket by the time I'm a mile back or through a swamp or whatever. I mean, you're gonna wear your scent lock into water that's belly deep. You can come on.
Well, that's what in Ohio. This was all going on when I was in Ohio, and the one morning I had a 2-mile walk through it just rained too, and the creek bottoms were all wet and stuff, and the rocks were super slippery. I fell like 3 times walking back in the dark, and I was frustrated, and I had sweat so much. When I got to the stand, I took my clothes off, like I took my everything off. I was naked from the top up or whatever, and like I literally could wring my undershirt out, and I just left it. It was too cold. It was already cold. It was like 35 degrees. And I just left it at the bottom of I'm like, I'm not putting that stupid thing back on. I'll freeze to death up here. But yeah, I was thinking that as I was walking back there. I'm like, there's no way I could do what he does.
Well, what do you do on a trip like when we went to Michigan? I mean, there wasn't like there were showers and.
Yeah, I mean, I think those guys just don't.
On the way home from Michigan, I smelled so bad I had to drive with the windows open.
It wasn't that bad. I was in there. You ate an apple every day.
Well, that's how I brush my teeth.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I just don't think those guys do that, Dane. I don't think they put themselves in that situation. I think when they go out of state, I think they stay in hotels and.
Yeah, there's probably different ways they hunt. I mean.
Yep.
Different, I don't have any problems with any way anybody else hunts. It's just that some of them have a problem with the way I hunt.
Yeah, I mean, I got buddies and stuff that still like they put all their clothes in totes, and I don't have any of them that don't pay attention to the wind at all. But they do all that, and some of them like swear by it. And a lot of them are killers too. So, it's all about what makes you confident and. I think I'm still convinced like that's probably like 70% of killing a big deer is just being confident in yourself,
Believing in it.
Yep. And if it's washing your clothes and putting them in a tote, that's probably what you ought to do. But anyway, and I went down the scent control path more than once in my life trying to figure it out and all that, and I just never could. And it's probably more my personality than anything. I just get tired of doing it kind of thing. And like, golly, this is too much work for me.
Right. If you spend a half an hour before going out getting dressed out of a tote and all that crap, you lose a half an hour of hunting. I think that half an hour a day of hunting would be better for you than that half an hour you're spending working in your tote.
Yeah. Yeah, probably so. My problem was I'd always after I was done hunting, I'd always get in a hurry and I want to get home or I got to go do something. And then I just end up wearing my crap around anyway.
So for me, I mean, really a hunt for a trophy whitetail buck is a one-on-one thing for me. And for my personal outlook of it is it's a game, like a chess game. It has deadly consequences, but it's still, for me, it's like this game between me and this buck. And for me to take away his sense of smell or sight or something doesn't seem fair. It seems to me like beating that is part of the game. Knowing how to play to win, knowing how to play to thermals, knowing how to approach him correctly, knowing how to get around him when the wind's blowing the wrong way, rather than trickery or potions or whatever that are going to make your scent go away or make their vision go away or jam their nose or whatever else they got out there.
Yeah.
I don't even like calling to deer. I mean, the other day, I had a buck close and I wanted to call to it and I almost felt guilty. It's like, well, then I'm not doing it natural. And don't take that wrong. I got nothing against any of that. And I've called in plenty of them with a grunt call.
Yeah.
It's just like that. There's something to me about putting myself in the exact tree I need to be in for an exact buck, knowing where he lives, how he's coming out, where he's going to go, and being in the one spot you could possibly be in and kill him. I mean, that's the challenge for me. The bucks I remember the most are the ones where I did everything perfect and he did everything he was supposed to and came from where I thought he was going to go. And those are the ones that just really feel like a badge of honor. Where if you're just out there tooting on a can or something and something comes running in there, for some people that is the hunt. I mean, some people love to see the pure adrenaline of a deer charging in with steam coming out of their nostrils. To me, my hunt, that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah. And that's not you judging people about how they do it either. You're just I think people mistake like some of your opinions as judgments, and it's like that's not. He's just telling you what he likes, you know.
Or what anybody else does. I worry about Dan and what Dan believes and what Dan thinks. And really, I don't care if the guy next to me shoots a crossbow, a rifle, you know, M16, whether he uses scent control, don't use scent control, or anything else. I just care that he's having a good time, has a good sense of humor, and we go kill deer.
Yeah. That's another problem is a lot of people don't have a good sense of humor. So
right.
you get a little emotional about some silly things. But anyway, yeah. I don't know. John is a very good hunter, though, and I think we both respect him for that. It's not that it's nothing. Wasn't about scent control. It was just helping Lou out. Not that Lou needs help. It rubbed him the wrong way, and rightfully so. So, anyway, it was a fun little. Well, not a fun at all for you. A bunch of crappy videos for you, I guess. But we got some good ones coming up, though, over the next couple of weeks. Some that hopefully won't be so doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was something else I wanted to talk to you about before we talk about my buck, because I get a dozen messages. Do what?
It wasn't me. It was Rick.
Yeah, no. I get probably a dozen messages a day, either people wanting to ask questions or just whatever. And this week, for some reason, I've been getting so many messages about scrape hunting and like the proper way of doing that. I was going to see if you could like talk about that for just a short little bit here.
We do have a video on that too, on the page somewhere. But for me, I think I've been getting that question too. So I don't know if it's the same people that are asking you or what, but it has been coming up quite a bit. Maybe just because it's scrape time of the year.
Yeah, people are just seeing scrapes in the woods right now, I think.
Yeah. So in my opinion, scrapes are a lot like rubs as their markers. They're communication markers. So a buck that's making a scrape is either communicating with does or is communicating with bucks. And a lot of people call scrapes primary. And I have used that term too, but I don't kind of see it that way. I see them as like they'll put scrapes where there's does they're interested in, right? And they'll put scrapes where there's where trails collide, and that's like claiming something, like claiming the area or something. And they'll mark food sources with scrapes. They'll mark bedding areas with scrapes. And I've noticed that the overall majority of scrapes are put down at night. Like probably 95% of them are put down at night. And that's because that's when deer move the most. And that's when they feel the most comfortable, right? So hunting scrapes in general, just to say blanketly hunting scrape lines, is probably a bad idea if you're looking for big bucks, in my opinion. But hunting an area where that should have big bucks in daylight, like close to their bedding area, and finding a scrape there is a good thing. And hunting the scrape that's near the bedding area is the confidence builder of telling you, okay, there's a buck in there and he's coming out and I'm in the right area. And that's one that's probably used in daylight. Now, for me, the scrapes that have worked out the best for me, and I've killed some of my biggest bucks especially with a bow, over the top of scrapes. And in each of those cases, those scrapes were at a union of trails that came out of bedding areas that held multiple bucks. So the bedding areas were like joined. You know, like one buck might be over here, one is over here, and they're only like 75 or 100 yards apart, but they stage in the same position, going the same direction, like towards food or does or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where they intersect, they put a scrape. So that scrape will be, 75, 100 yards from the bedding, and those two bucks will meet there, right? And I shot the 400-pound slop on a bed scrape, and I shot that 24-inch wide 11-pointer over bed scrape. I can think of several others. I can think of one where I went in and shot a big 8-pointer on it, and then took my work buddy out there the next day, and he came in and he shot the other buck that was coming in and working it. And sometimes it's even more than 2 bucks. And a lot of guys will mistakenly call that a primary scrape. But I think what the definition of a primary scrape is supposed to be one that all these bucks are coming to or whatever. But I think they're going there because of a reason. It's really the original buck laying that scrape down is competing with these other deer for space or for does or for food or whatever it be. Do you agree with any of that?
Yeah, for sure. Like we were walking around in Wisconsin, western Wisconsin, there's freaking scrapes everywhere, down the walking trails, in the woods, right. Wherever, they're everywhere. What, when you see a scrape,
see a big scrape like that, and just first one, he goes, sets a stand up over the top of it. And that's why your average guy fails.
So what would make you set over a scrape then? Like
it's proximity to bedding, whether it's doe bedding or buck bedding, proximity to bedding.
Right. Yeah, they have to have a reason to come there at daylight.
Even if I'm hunting a funnel like during rut, I'm gonna be right between two bedding areas and as narrow an area as possible. I noticed that they'll just little small ridges right between two bedding areas. They'll slip through in daylight. The bigger, older animals. I mean, you'll get a day or two out of the rut, or even your biggest animals will go on a runabout, right? Just the other day, I had one day where I picked up this giant 10 I hadn't seen before on all my cameras over by Dave's. Never seen him before. Just one day he comes through. He spends the day all over the place. You'll get that. A buck will get worked up and go running. And that's what gets guys to just keep hunting these big, wide open funnels and stuff. But literally, they much more often move through little tiny funnels that have a little cover between two bedding areas. And if you can slide between those two bedding areas, and usually you can tell the bedding areas by terrain, whether it's leeward points that are thick or what be it, but you find scrapes in that area, even if they're not right up against the thick, you're in between, it's rut, they're cruising. If it's on the leeward bench, or top third, I'd probably think about hunting that.
Yep. I think the biggest thing is, like, whenever I tell people, I was like, you got to really think about where that scrape's located and why that buck would be there in daylight. If you can't, answer those two questions, you probably just need to keep going,
Mm-hmm.
Is there any like tips on you can give to people on how they can tell how big of a deer it is that's using a scrape or has created a scrape?
The track. If they don't leave a track, when they paw, you see a wide space between the paws as they splay out.
Mm-hmm.
So, a small buck will just do a couple scratches, but big buck as he scratches, his paw will spread out, and you'll see more of a Y shape to the paw as the toes go wider as he's pulling.
Mm-hmm. What about like the size of the scrape? Have you ever noticed that? Is there a difference, like a little buck tinkering around making a little basketball size?
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I think sometimes the smaller ones are just bucks that are just really worked up. They're walking through the woods, making one every 10 feet or something. And a lot of times those are the smaller bucks, honestly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've seen some pretty small bucks work some pretty big scrapes, scratching all over the place, throwing dirt all over the place. And I've watched them do it for several minutes and work the whole area up. But I've heard people say what you're saying, like, "Oh, I found a scrape the size of a car hood." What does that have to do with the antlers or the buck?
Right.
The track is the biggest indicator if you got a track in the scrape. I have seen them too, where the branch above the scrape is up like 6 feet, and you're like, that's pretty interesting. And then if the branch is say big around as your thumb and it's broken off at the end, and it's got like antler marks on it and stuff, that usually gets my attention too. I can't say for sure that I can positively say I've seen big bucks make that sound, but use common sense. It takes something big to do something that high up and break the branch up like that, right?
Yep. No, it makes complete sense.
No, a little buck could break a branch like that, but not 6 feet off the ground. It takes neck strength and big antlers to do them.
Yep. No, that's good. I'd gotten multiple questions about scrapes this week, and I thought I'm just going to ask Dan on the podcast, and that way some to reference instead of it's hard to answer people in messages.
Give yourself a little credit too. You're a solid hunter. You should have some answers to that too.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree with all you, and I would echo the same thing. I was asking the question for people more or less. I've killed 2 really nice bucks over scrapes. One was on a cornfield edge. I really have had a good luck over the years seeing mature deer. Like, if you can find some good scrapes, near a cornfield edge where a point comes into a cornfield or something. And another one was the exact same thing. I killed a giant deer. You can't see it back here, but it's over here. It's the back one back there. He didn't score much, but he field dressed 236. It was on a funnel between 2 bedding areas where there was a scrape. I actually shot him as he was walking out of the scrape he just made or freshened up or whatever. So, yep. All right. You want to talk about our my Wisconsin hunt now?
The Battle of the Bows?
The Battle of the Bows, yeah. We're going to try to
even get into that. There were a lot of people when you first came on board asked me, why are you bringing this Josh guy on here? Who's this Josh guy? And, well, now they know.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
You're a killer.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how many bucks I've killed. I'd have to think about it and count it up, but it's getting to be quite a few now. You can't see them all, but I got a whole bunch of European mounts in the back corner over here. There's probably a dozen of them back there. So I don't know how many it is. The Europeans aren't like giants, but they're all over 100 inches probably. So, you get on to me often about not talking about how many deer I've killed.
Mm-hmm.
But people just see it now because I film it now. So I don't have to talk about it as much. Anyway, we're not going to talk in depth about Battle of the Bows because I think we're going to have some of the people that were there hunting with us on eventually here. But I wanted to talk about my specific hunt. So the hunt started the night before. Me and Dan were driving back and we didn't get any of this on video. We never get the good stuff on video, but
cameraman. When we do those, we should have a cameraman follow us around.
Yeah. At least in the truck. We don't have to go
volunteers. Somebody would want to come and film for us.
It'd be nice to have somebody in the truck and then while we're scouting, when you're hunting, exactly. I can handle that.
Exactly.
That all the other stuff is rough to get all the footage on.
It's just hard to even think about filming when we're strategizing
We're just driving home. We wouldn't even say we were strategizing. We were literally just driving back to camp, which was 10 miles from 10 miles from camp. And we were come up to this cornfield and we saw some does in the cut cornfield. And we drove maybe another couple 100 yards down the cornfield and a big buck crossed in front of us. And I got on my app real quick and I was like, oh, that's public that he just ran into. And we kind of just left it at that.
I was thinking that thing came down from the oaks into the corn. Mm-hmm. And now it ran across the street down into there. And by daylight, it's going to be back up in the oaks. And I'm thinking it's all wide open grass. You're crazy.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going under tomorrow and I'm killing it. I'm like, you're nuts, man.
Yeah,
Knock
essentially.
yourself out.
I was wondering about that too. Like I thought about that. I'm like, I wonder if he came across the road and like from even the left side of the road as we were driving, and he just got freaked out and went the other way. Whenever
Yeah,
we.
and you know what though? In hindsight, when I went back with you during daylight,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at how huge that cornfield was. I mean, that was just after dark. There's no way he made it that far from those oaks down to there.
Exactly.
But I couldn't
Yeah.
see that in the darkness when we saw the buck.
Yep. Yeah. Whenever I got to this, because I hadn't seen it either until I drove up there to go scouting the next day. When I got there, I got real excited. I was like, oh man, he has to be down here. But anyway, I hopped out of the next day, midday. I hopped out down in there, and as soon as I got into the wood line, I could see like a big buck bed. I kind of went to an area I thought he would be bedded, or not where he bedded, where he would come out of to go across that field. And as soon as I got in there, I saw a big rub. And I saw looked like maybe a night bed or whatever, just on the edge of the field there before he would go across the road. But so as soon as I saw that, I turned around and went and got my stand and my stand and my bow, and I kind of studied the map for a little bit, probably for like 30 minutes, like trying to figure out like where he would probably be bedding at and where he would travel and come through and whatnot. And then I found that really nice. There was 2 oxbows. The river made 2 oxbows, which if you don't know what that is, we got clips and videos about that too. But it's essentially where the river makes a really sharp bend, and deer like them. It's like a point essentially in the river. And the river did that 2 times. And then both those oxbows came out to this little pond that kind of forced the deer into this really narrow area. And when I was setting up at the time, I was like, oh, if he's in these oxbows, he has to come through here. Like he's not gonna, because on the other side of the pond was an open field and everything else. I wouldn't think he'd want to go up in there. And and I got up in the stand. I didn't say this on video, but I was thinking, and I should have said it on video. But when I got up in the stand, I looked over to where he came from, and there was all kinds of thick, nasty stuff out there that I was like, oh, there could be deer bedding in there too. And that's where he was bedding. He was actually bedded. He wasn't in the oxbow. He was kind of out in the middle of those fields, the river bottom fields, just in like a little patch of shrub brush and nasty crap. And he was probably like 150 yards from me. But I was thinking about this too. Like, I think he got up and came to me so fast. And I think it's just because where he was bedding at, like he was kind of in the open when he got up. He couldn't see him at all whenever he was laying there. But I've seen him now do this where if they're bedding somewhere where they're kind of out in the open and they get up before daylight, they seem to want to get out of there real quick. And that's kind of what he was acting. I saw him get up out of his bed, and he was kind of frantically like doing like this, a little bit. And he just kind of just made his way to me real quick to get in those oxbows and out of sight of, that field he was in. And that's the same thing my buck I killed in Indiana did. When he came out of bedding, he was kind of in a field and he just shuffled over to where I was. I don't know, just to wait to get dark or whatever the case may be.
Well, that's much better than him walking slow and you having to stare at him out of that lone little.
I know. Yeah, right. And that's another thing is I sit there for probably, because I got in really early that evening, and I sat there and contemplated what tree to set in for a long time, because the tree I was in was kind of crappy. Like it was a little bitty dinky tree with a bunch of
that was a Dan Infalt tree.
Yeah, I was only 2 sticks up. But I knew, I'm like that. I almost didn't want to get up in it because it was just such a pain in the butt to get in. I was like, there has to be another one, but there wasn't. I mean, there was the only one around me. And it was just, I knew, I'm like, if there's a deer in here, they have to come through here, and they're going to be within 30 yards of me if they do. And there were some other good trees like farther back in there a little bit, but then the way the wind was, it would kind of put me at more risk. Specifically, it would have been fine with his scenario where he came from, but it was going to blow out one of those oxbows if I went up in there farther. So I just sat back and, he came came right down right where I thought the trail that I thought they would be on. He just was coming the opposite way. But yeah, and then I kind of take pride in being a pretty good shot, and I still don't know what I did. I hit him back though in the liver. And then he acted real weird. He stopped. I shot him, and he like ran this way, and he stopped there, and he was just like looking around, like nothing happened, But I could see the hole in his liver, and I could see it back, And I sitting there watching him. And I'm trying to get an arrow, and then he finally saw me, and then he blew and ran away with his tail up and everything.
Yeah, you seemed really nervous about finding him, but I was confident.
Yeah. Well, if he would have acted like he was liver shot, where he would have like, how they'll tuck their tail and just walk away like they're sick, I would have been, I'd have been like, oh yeah, I hit him in the liver. Well, I did hit him in the liver, but I guess I talked to a couple trackers like Shane Simpson, and Steve there, and I was, they kind of were like, yeah, it's pretty common where, not common, but it happens where you shot him through the liver. You were 20 yards from him when you shot him. It zipped right through him. They probably didn't know what the heck was going on.
And they just acted with the hurt,
Yeah. And he was just acting like he normally would, and he just blew. And then when he ran off, he probably started being like, oh, this doesn't feel good, and he literally died. I mean, I don't know how I didn't see him, stop and bed down, but I didn't. I thought he just went out of sight. But
and the thing was too, where he laid down after he ran from you.
Yeah.
I don't think he was dead all that long after when we did find him. I mean, like probably 6 hours or something. And if you would have went out that way, which was right directly towards the truck, I think you would have chased that thing for all the way across that cornfield into the private and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You did everything perfect and backing out.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of circled when I left. I circled back, went out a different way just to not to mess with him, and then walk down the road back to my vehicle. Yep. And he was bedded in like a perfect buck bed too. Like he had this big log to his back, and
you mean where he died? Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, he was just watching that back trail. He was set up perfect where we found him dead.
Yep. And the I mean, I wish I'd have smoked him and he'd have died right there, but getting to have that experience of how the dog works a deer was pretty cool. I never gotten to do that. So that was a neat thing to watch. And it was very impressive. I mean, that dog found that thing. And like, once he like got on the track, it was like minutes he was on it.
Yeah. You should put a link up for Max's deer recovery in the.
Yeah. I'll put it in the description after the video's over or the live's over, but he said, they said he's recovered about 300 deer now. So that's a lot. That's a lot of deer. But those guys that are into that dog recover or the deer tracking stuff, that's what they like to do that. Like Steve, right?
Wants to come help me. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve. What was his last name, Dan? I can never remember it. It's kind of a,
when you ask me, you can't think of things.
I think it is awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's what he was telling me. He's like, yeah, I enjoy this just as much as deer hunting. Scott. Yeah. Max's deer recovery.
Sorry, Scott.
Yeah. Jeez, man.
I don't sleep during hunting season. It's hard for me to remember.
Yeah.
I thought Steve
I have an excuse. I only met you once. Dan doesn't have an excuse. No. Oh, that's
I do, just not a good one.
Right. Yeah, that dog was cool. Good dog too. But yeah, it was it would have taken us a lot longer to find that. And then Alex in Michigan from Latitude, Alex Chop, that's what he said too. That dog that they had down in Michigan, it took that dog like 15 minutes to track that deer to the point where it took them like 4 hours the day before. So if you have the opportunity to use a dog, it's well worth it.
It ran right through that buck I shot last year.
Yeah.
Right
Yep. Someone is asking here, while we're on the dog tracking thing, do dog trackers charge?
They usually ask for a little money for coming out there.
Yep.
Usually not much. I think it's like a couple $100.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to find your deer, I mean, that's a part of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it sounds like some people say some trackers have fees, some don't. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, gas money. I mean, they take
Yeah,
time out of their
take tips, yeah. Mhm.
take
It
tips.
would be pretty nasty for somebody not to offer nothing though, because they're taking time out of their day that they could be working or they could be hunting or whatever they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, right. And it's not and a dog like it's a lot of effort to train a dog and feed a dog and all that too. So it's all cost of money. Um, and it's well worth it too if you need one. So anyway, that was the hunt. It was fun. It was pretty nice deer too. I think it was at least a 3-year-old, so I was happy with it.
It was absolutely for sure the deer that crossed the road in front of us. I remember the little stickers on the G2s.
Yeah. And it was a nice tall deer, like tall rack, not real wide but tall. Gary, I took it to Gary, my buddy Gary's house, and he said it weighed 205. It's field dress, so it was a big deer.
That was a good one.
Um, but yeah, I'll have the Battle of the Bows Part 2 done tomorrow, and it'll be up on the show or on the channel tomorrow night, so everybody can be looking for that. Someone asked why no beard, Dan.
Mm. It was getting full of meat sauce.
Oh yeah, I was cracking. Yeah, I was cracking myself up the other night. I was sitting in Ohio. I'd been throwing milkweed up in there, and I didn't realize it, but a bunch of it got like stuck in my beard.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I like saw something flutter and fly off. I'm like, oh, I can keep my milkweed in here now.
Yeah, that's what I used to do when I had a beard your size. I used to shove it in there.
Yeah,
There's a video clip of me in a stand where you don't see it because I got salt and pepper beard, and
yeah.
I go, I got my milkweed right here.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, you're coming to Indiana tomorrow, and I'm probably gonna go back to Ohio the week after you leave. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Hopefully we get on.
One. 3 ain't enough.
Yeah.
It's rut.
I know.
You got 3 down before rut. You got to get one rut too, at least one.
I think Ohio's a pretty good place to be during the rut too. I'm going to put I should have gave this spill a little bit ago, but if you guys like what we're doing, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And how we do it here, if you're new, is at the end, which is right now, we do a Q&A, and you guys can actually call into the show, which I'm going to put the link to call in the comments right now. And you just click on that link and follow the instructions, and you'll be on the show. You have to be patient because I have to let you in and all that, but you come in and ask your questions. Just be respectful and all that, and know you're on camera in front of 314 people right now. So let's go up to the top here. Dan, a couple people have been asking about if the tree stands are going to be back in stock.
Yeah, they're going on stock constantly. We're always getting them made, so it's just a matter of being patient. You can get on a list. I thought maybe he was Mario runs everything, so I thought he was doing like pre-orders where you could by popular demand, people were asking for it. I think you can pre-order them now.
I think
you put a couple of bucks down or something. I don't remember exactly how it works, but I remember somebody
$5.
Yeah, something like that. I remember somebody at the event was asking about how to get another stand or something, and I remember Mario telling them that.
Yeah. It sounded like they were pretty regularly getting them in and making them and then putting them on.
Yeah, like once a month or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just we can't keep up. I mean, the faster we make them, the more they sell.
Yep. It's a good problem to have and a bad problem at the same time, right? All right. Here's a good question from TJ. TJ asks, any changes to your rut hunting strategy with the warm week we have ahead of us?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't been hunting all day anyways, but it's been really hot this week. And most of the bucks I'm seeing are right when I get on stand, or my cameras are going crazy at noon. So it doesn't seem to be affecting them here. Right now in southern Wisconsin, the bucks are really, really active. And yeah, midday we're seeing them like crazy, and it's hot out. I was in a t-shirt tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty nice down here, pretty warm down here too. But
I would say they move pretty good in the mornings on hot days, because the mornings are still cool because you get that temperature variance that's so extreme from night to day.
Yep,
the mornings are pretty good.
You ever hunt like water sources in the rut if it's hot?
Yeah, I've seen them be very active. I've seen deer stop chasing, go over, get a drink, and then go back to chasing.
Yeah. I think that's I've kind of seen the same exact thing as because we'll have hot weather here in November in Indiana, like real hot. So we have a lot of like cruising down creeks and stuff like that. I've had good luck with hot weather on creeks. Golly, Dan, we got a bunch of questions about your broadhead. Are you going to be changing anything on your broadheads next year?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
For me, it's more about precision placement of the broadhead. Hitting that spine and not breaking it has nothing to do with that broadhead, really, because it's just luck. If I used a heavy arrow and a heavy broadhead, I would not have been able to shoot that far precisely. I took into account I could hit that spine, and I did, and it just didn't kill it. That's people do it with recurves and stuff all the time. I mean, every bow should break the spine. You have to hit it just right not to. And I just must have hit the spine just right. And he sucked it up.
Yeah, you wonder. It's just like you wish you could like have all the answers, right? Like just to know, does it have a piece?
I would like to use the Montex like you do, but they don't fly right out of my setup. I get a little funky flight. So because of that, I went with the strikers.
Yeah.
But the strikers, they've done me pretty good. I mean, I put one through that adult doe at 20 or 25 yards and stuck it into the ground like 6 inches. I mean, I had to yank it out of the ground. It's more about hitting the deer right. You don't want to hit shoulders and stuff like that.
Right, for sure. I like the Montex because they're that single piece of metal, and it just gives me the warm and fuzzy feeling of them being a little more durable. But I don't have any like scientific reason why they would be or wouldn't be, or any experience with the strikers. So anyway, okay, we got a call in here. Can you hear us, Mike?
Yeah, I sure can.
Hey, Mike.
How's it going? Good. Josh, great job, man. You're slam. That's awesome.
Congratulations. Thanks, man. Thanks.
Dan, I feel your pain. Everybody, you know, if you hunt long enough, it happens. I appreciate that you show it, and that, you know, helps everybody else understand no matter who you are, it happens.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that.
I got a couple questions if you got the time. The first one is, well, first I want to say, I don't like the computer thing at all, but I got to say, it's starting to pay off a little bit. Not that I got it figured out, but tonight I went in. It's country I kind of found brook trout fishing. And then I looked at it on the maps and picked out some spots I thought should be good. And tonight I went in early, just scouting, and the leaves have just dropped here. And it's hard up on the high country. It's hard to really find sign. So I stepped down too close to the lowland and was walking along, and I bumped 2 bucks. And Dan, they're right where you said they'd be. So I got to say it's paying off a little bit. I'm not there, got it figured out yet, but it's paying off. So my question is, if you bump a buck off an island or off a point and he's on the edge of the wetland and he crosses it, would you expect him to bed down on the other side of the wetland, or would you expect him to cross the other ridge on the other side and bed down on the leeward side of that ridge?
It's hard to say for sure, but he's probably going to go to someplace good for bedding. But he's gonna be worried he's being tracked, so he's going to set up to watch his back trail in some manner. Might be at the first good cover, but they don't tend to. If it's a big buck, they don't tend to go long distances. They tend to go short distances. They don't like running through cover. I mean, I think about how many people go out gun season and go into wooded areas, but yet they don't kill all the big bucks when they, they're kicking them up on opening day. Those bucks get caught off guard when all those people go in there, right? But they're not running through the woods like for a mile getting shot, are they?
No, you're right.
They just go a short distance and they stay in cover and they try to, get into something good, and they go to some place they remember as a security spot. So it might not be right where you last saw him, but I don't think you're going too far. But he is going to be set up really well to watch his back trail. He might go over the top to that leeward side, but he's going to be set up to watch the top. So he might even sit on the windward side if he's got the right ingredients to bed there that he can watch his back trail. What I see pretty often is they will walk. Now, they don't know the difference between you and themselves and a wolf as far as how you track them, because they can't reason, right? So they don't know if you're scent trailing them like they would, right? Or a wolf would.
Right.
What they do is they'll go in a loop, come back around, and pretty often they'll watch their trail if they're in thick cover, so that you walk past them. That's what my buck did that I shot in the spine. He did almost a figure 8 back around and was watching the trail as I walked by. And then when I got past him, he stood up and I turned around, saw him, and he just hopped off. But I see that quite often, especially when I'm snow tracking wounded deer. You see them do that loop back around and watch their back trail. That's usually not necessarily thick cover. I've seen them do it in open cover too, but open cover, a lot of times they'll get up high and just really watch that trail you're going to come in. They're expecting you to follow them if you jumped them out of a bedding area, basically,
Got it. Also, I hear you say repeat, quite often, your first hunt in, you want to be at that spot where you, as closest to bed as you think you can get, and still not bump it too hard. But then there's other videos or other times you talk about, you found this sign going in and you can't pass it up. You have to hunt it. I get when you're in new country, I understand that part of it. But if you're headed in for a bedded area that you're pretty confident on, and then you bump that kind of sign, what's the criteria? How do you decide? I mean, are you that close to where you think you should have been to begin with, that it's worth making the stop and hunting this fresh sign, or is there something else going on that I'm not quite getting?
So are you talking fresh sign other than where I'm intending on going? Or are you talking about into a staging in their sign there? I'm not understanding you.
Well, that's kind of what I'm wondering is if am I missing something in your videos that I'm not catching? When you're talking about this sign that you can't pass up, it's fresh sign. I guess what I'm asking is, are you headed for a bedded area and then you bump into this sign that is just too good to pass up and you abandon your original plan?
If that's the way I put it, probably, yeah. So there's different ways I hunt too. I might have a rough area where I'm planning on going. I'm kind of scouting my way and checking a few spots, and don't really intend to hunt there. But if I see something, then I do. But if I am going to a spot and I run into fresh big tracks going in and out of what is apparently bedding, and maybe some rubs, scrapes, whatever I find, right? If there's a sign that there's a deer doing that now, why would I walk past for a chance that maybe they're doing it at the other spot? I can hunt that other spot tomorrow. So I would always opt, unless it's a very bad setup or the wind's wrong or something, to hunt the hot sign when I find it. Another thing is these deer are really on quick patterns, especially this time of the year. I've been on deer bouncing around the last like week and a half, 2 weeks. And you get on a deer and he'll show up on a camera for 3-4 days or something, or you'll see him and you move in for a kill and he's there for a few days checking on his doe. And then who knows where he goes? He's gone. Then you go on the next one, and there's a couple of them where you put them off on the back burner while you're messing around with this one. By the time you get over there, he's gone. They're only there for a short period of time. You got hot sign, you got to jump on it. And, you don't walk past it. If it's big buck sign and it's fresh and you believe it's daylight sign because it's near bedding cover, I would be all over that.
Cool. Well, thanks again for what you guys do. Keep it up.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Take care.
Yep. Talk to you later. 1 second here.
Did you have anything to say on that?
No, not really. I think it's real hard to like for me at least, like when you're walking through the woods, like so much of what we decide or do just comes from instinct of experience and stuff. So it's always hard to convey like what you're thinking at that particular moment, or right now when we're talking to people.
Just like a thought on video that you think is a thought turns into a whole topic of discussion about Dan said this is fact or something. So I got to watch how I say things too.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But you got to remember too, a lot of these hunts that me and you go on, probably you even more than me, because I've seen what you have to deal with in those hills.
Yeah.
We might go back a mile and a half on some of these properties, which some people don't even have that to go. But so they might not be relating, because some places you don't get that far on a property and you run out of land, right?
Yeah.
But you go back that far and you're bound to run into something on the way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Obviously. And I think you deal with that even more than me, because you're taking these ridges back and you're going to cross several areas that look like leeward stuff. And I think out by you, sometimes it's important because most people hunt near the roads. But if you drop through a draw or two, you get into the deer.
Yep, for sure. All right, we got a couple more caller inners here. How's it going, Jacob?
Hey.
Oh, you're on mute, man.
I don't know if I got this mic working correctly. 1 second.
You do now, man.
It is? Okay, sweet.
Yep.
Hey, on that last topic, Dan, this is the first year I've been going back like 2 miles almost every sit. And Josh, I don't know if you relate to this, but like I feel like on days where I plan to sit all day and I get down and like scout a bit, like in between sits, and decide if I want to adjust my setup, you start to learn, like you learn more what more fresh sign looks like and what the sign like means. And that's where you're like developing that instinct. Like, and then that's what's qualifying what is passable or not. Like, is this a scrape line that some immature buck started making in the middle of the night? Or is this something that just popped up this morning while I was sitting on this other ridge? And it kind of like, I felt like that instinct has developed more, just like the more time you're in the woods, you start to understand what each situation looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, my question today was, Dan, you said one of the things that you were finding a bit from your trail camera study is that your first sits didn't do as much damage as that you initially thought. I think you said that on one podcast, and that you were finding new buck groups phasing into those bedding areas and some repeats, even though you had been in there.
Yep.
How does that kind of like change your approach to repeat sits? Because sometimes I'll have 3 days in a row, an area will be real hot and it'll be, like 3 or 4 different bucks coming through in that period of time. And so it'd be like the first time they have an opportunity to cross my scent trail if I get in there like really clean. Mm-hmm. So how would you approach that? Would you just kind of hunt that?
If I'm seeing deer, I ain't backing down on a spot till I'm not seeing deer. So I might hunt it 2 or 3 days in a row. As a matter of fact, I mean, just in the last couple of days, and a whole new deer I've never seen before popped into Dave's farm. A real big 10-pointer.
Yeah.
And I showed up on all the cameras, right? So I went in there and hunted him, and I got an evening, a morning, and an evening hunt on him, and had an interaction with them all three in the same spot. So that burnt it out, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that much, but if he's not caught on, you just keep hunting, right? And I still don't think he's on to me. The doe he was with was on to me.
Okay, yeah, and that'll pull him away. What do you think, Josh?
I mean, I'm sure the problem with Dan's trail camera study is there's not a hunter in there. I don't know.
Right. What he's saying though is what my statement was, that I had hunted a spot, and then 2 days later a buck shows up there.
Yeah, but what if he have?
Next day he shows
how do you know he wasn't circling your stand or something before he came in there or something? I mean,
and I can say though that in spots that I've overhunted, and I've hunted them like 4 or 5 times, or somebody else got in there and hunted, I've watched those stands burn out and become ungood for years until the guy quits hunting it and doesn't hunt it for a couple of years, and then the deer come back. So human interaction definitely has a negative impact on your hunting spots, but when you're after a specific animal, you can't not hunt where he's at.
Yeah.
So if you understand that. So I'm trying to mix it up by moving around and not overhunt a spot and ruin it for next year or later this year or whatever. But in the same light, I'm trying to kill a certain deer.
Yeah. I guess my opinion is this is like, I think it's always worth a second hunt. And then after that, I'm like, okay, I'm done now, Yeah.
Well, this spot, now I went in there 2 nights ago, right? And when I walked in the evening, I think the buck was already on his feet. He crashed off through the swamp. I got in there, I got set up, and later I heard him, I think it was him, grunting in the bedding area. And there was a doe in there. And I seen the doe, but I didn't see him. And then I heard his antlers on the brush rubbing a tree. And there's multiple other bucks flying out of there. And a couple of bucks in about the 100-inch range trying to get in there and come flying out with their tails tucked looking back. But I never seen them. But I seen, I think 17 deer on the first hunt in the evening.
Wow.
The next morning I seen about 6.
Wow. And
then that evening I saw 3.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot smaller, a lot quick.
Yeah.
So you see, even though I was still onto that buck a little bit, you see how my presence really impacted that spot, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Repeatedly, even on a rut funnel, guys say you can hunt a rut funnel all you want. Your first sit there, you'll see 7, 8 deer, and then the next one maybe you see 4, and then the next one you see 2, and then maybe you see 1 here. But it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse the more you sit it.
Yeah. I was asking you guys those questions maybe a week or so ago about how you approach these challenges where you scout in and you're talking about like you need to find more out about an area, but you don't need to go too far in and all that, playing that game of too far but versus what I don't know. And I started taking the approach of the sections I wanted to hunt of this really large property as if I was doing like a mini public land challenge on each of them, where I would find something that qualified it as a good place to hunt. I'd dedicate my time scouting it, and then I would take a day to hunt it, see what's up. I would usually have to move in further and break it down. It was usually by either the second hunt I realized that it wasn't what I thought it was, or I needed to go further. And on some of my most recent hunts, it was like one day I had to make an adjustment, saw less deer the second day, but I was closer to the right deer. And then the third day, something cool happened. And then it was just like you had to learn more about your setup and why things are going on. But like you said, Josh, too, with a trail camera, like your perspective is so narrow. Like the day I first sat there, I had a cell cam in the area and I saw probably 8 to 10 deer, and not a single one was on my cell camera. And like that area was hot, it was blowing up, and the cell camera didn't tell me anything about it. So, so yeah, but thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys.
Man. Cool. We will talk soon, Jacob.
Thanks.
Sounds good,
See you, man. All right. Let's see here. We got another call in here. Can you hear us, Tim?
Yep.
Tim.
Hey, Josh.
Hear
Hey,
you.
Dan.
Hey.
First off, Josh, awesome job on Before the Echo. It's really growing.
Oh, thanks, man.
Dan, thank you for sharing your knowledge. I've been learning a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
So my question is there's a certain, so it's actually to start off, I'm kind of new to the whole mobile game. I grew up hunting, but I did the, hunting where you park your car in the same general area and you walk to a set stand that I had. And I did that for years. And obviously you're just hoping and praying that you're going to see something. Obviously that's the way I grew up hunting, but I started getting into the mobile game a couple of years ago. So I'm still fairly new to it. But what I was going to ask you about is there's a certain bedding area. So there's a dam that's by a lake. And there's obviously the dam and you got the river flowing up behind it. And there's a field that's split into like 4 sections, almost got like you got tree lines running through it. And last year when I was scouting it before the beginning of last season, I kicked out like a bachelor group of, I think 4 or 5 pretty big bucks. And I got them on video too. Really big class deer that I've ever seen before. They were bedding in the tree line. But when I would drive down there through, like the seasons, you can see that the field is getting hammered with people, bunch of cars parked, I seen a couple of tree stands in those tree lines. So just kind of going off of what I've always learned, listening to you is kind of stay away from that because that's where the people are going to be. But there's an access road that's going down to the back of the dam that, like workers use and stuff like that. And it's separating the field. The field's right next to the river, and it's a fast flowing river. There's no way deer can walk through it or swim through it. I meant, it's almost white water. So the deer are on this side, but anyways, so you got the river, the field, and then you got that access road, and it's separating this bedding area, but it's got power lines running through it. So it's got some clear cuts. And, I scouted it last year, and then I scouted it this year in July, and I set up a camera inside the bedding area. I was running low on time, so I set it up over a bed, and I set up a non-cell camera over like a main highway trail, but I'm kind of afraid to go in there because I don't want to leave scent over there just to check a camera. But the cell camera recently died. But I did get a couple nice pictures of deer in velvet, like end of July. Obviously that was 2-3 months ago. So who knows if that deer is even around anymore. But my question is how would you approach, like, would you go into that bedding area? Would you stay on the outskirts of it? Because anytime that before, like even when I scouted in the summer, as soon as you walk in, you can hear deer busting off and crashing off,
So I don't really go into the bedding areas when I hunt. I sit on the outskirts. What my rule is I get as close as I can get without them hearing me, smelling me, or seeing me. I get right up to the edge of that, and that's where I set up. And wherever that puts me, that's where it puts me. But that's where I want to be. Whatever you have for an exit trail, hopefully you get within 100 yards. That's pretty golden that they'll get that far. But if you can't, you can stay back further than that too. One thing I would caution on is they might be bedding there in July and not now. I mean, bedding areas have time frames when deer use them. I wouldn't put all my eggs in the one basket. I'd go take a hunt at it, and if you don't get nothing, that's fine. Move on to the next one, and just try to figure it out. Those bucks are living right there someplace, right around that field. And it's going to be a place where all those people are overlooking. So it's going to be some place that they're missing. They're missing the whole, concept of where they're at. So there's some place there that's overlooked that has bedding cover that they're missing, whether it's in a corner by the road or by the dam or where. And there's probably more than one place like that. But I would throw hunts at that stuff and just hop all over that as much as I could and spread myself out until I get action. And then I'd narrow that action in and focus in on an area. If you do think they're in there and you hop from one side you don't see something, try a different angle. Maybe they're coming out this way or that way, despite the sign, because you might be looking at sign from last week and this week they're over here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're definitely hiding somewhere, because last season, I had a camera set up on the edge of the field, kind of like where they would be coming out of a bedding area. And as soon as the sun would go down, within 30 minutes, an hour, I mean, there's like really good sized bucks on camera in that field as soon as the people would leave. So they're coming from, so I assume they're coming somewhere close, you know?
Correct.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. If you just take an area and probably go like, 40, 50 acres and put those fields in the middle of it, and then cross out everything that you think people get into. There's very little left, and that's where your deer are. And you just have to throw some hunts at that stuff.
It's actually really small. I think the field is only like maybe 200 acres, maybe more. And the bedding area is across from it. That's actually public. Besides, there's some private spots, but most of it's government land. Like the one where I got the pictures of really big deer at the bedding area. I mean, it's only like 3 or 5 acres. Like, it's tiny. It's like a tiny little pocket of woods, and it did have some water in there before, but not, obviously it's been so dry this year that when I was in there in July, it was all dried up. But I seen a couple beds in there, and I don't know if they're maybe using that in the summer, or if they're there. I mean, if they were there last year coming out in the field, as soon as it was getting dark during season, mid-October, and then I assume that they're probably still there. I mean, would you think?
I'd be throwing some hunts at it, but you got to think about the trails that are coming in and out of there, not hunt in there. Like you said, you walk in there, you're just going to blow them out. You got to look at the exits coming out of there.
One last question. Do you think it affects it if it's a big ridge system? Because those little pockets of trees, it's on a giant ridge going down into that field, separated by that access road. Do you think the ridge has any effect on it, make it harder to hunt? With thermals?
It can, because you're going to get both a thermal effect and a wind effect. So you're going to have two different winds to deal with. When it's calm, the wind's going to go one direction. And when it's windy, it's going to go another, because the calm wind is actually going to be a thermal.
Yep.
So you're either going to have, you might even have three. You might have a thermal drop when you get there, and a thermal rise as the day goes on, and you have a wind direction going a different way. So playing the winds correctly is going to be one thing you really got to take into account. And I want to make sure my wind is not blowing to their bedding area anytime I'm in my tree.
Yep.
But my setups are usually to take advantage of the what the thermal's going to be doing at the time the deer come out. So it might be a little bit different than what it is when you set up, right?
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. That's pretty good advice.
Yeah, I was going to say, you asked a question about your trail camera in the bedding area, if you should check it earlier. I'd probably just forget about the regular SD card camera for a while, or at least like hunt that spot a couple times, and then you can go check it out of your curiosity or something,
Yeah.
If you're planning on hunting it, I probably wouldn't mess with the camera if it's in the bed.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm afraid to go in there and look at, because I know it's an overlooked spot that people are not hunting. So
patience, you'll get a hold of that camera soon enough.
Yeah, I know.
You can go get it when you're going back there to fetch that dead buck.
Yeah,
right.
I hope. I mean, the cell camera's dead, but I haven't touched it, and there's a regular camera in there that I haven't seen, but I'd like to see what's on there, but I don't want to go in there.
Thanks,
all right,
man.
guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we got a couple more callers, and we'll have to hop off here. We've been on here for about an hour and a half. So, Seth, I don't know if he can hear us or anything because he didn't have a video. Can you hear us, Seth?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. I don't have a camera on this particular laptop, but
you're good, man. We can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Hey, Dan, I appreciate what y'all do, man. I really enjoy the podcast and all the work that you guys are doing. I've been following you guys for a while. I'm down in East Texas. Don't hear a lot about us down here. We even when we talk about the South, people kind of stop at Louisiana. But the last 3 or 4 years, Dan and Josh, Dan learned a lot from you, and just letting you know, even your tactics up north, your swamp tactics, diving in, really doing your scouting, a lot of that even works way down here, 1,800 miles away. So We got a couple of national forests around here. It's real flat, it's just big woods, low deer density, but there's some good bucks to be found, and it works. So my question is, your recent video really kind of hit home with me about the struggles, coming through the adversity and everything, and I can kind of, maybe expect what I guess I'm looking for somebody else to kind of tell me that it's going to get better. But I've only killed about 10 deer with my bow. But I started out on the lease, kind of changing up my tactics, getting a lot more mobile about 3 or 4 years ago. So I feel like I'm getting into that time period where it's really starting to pay off. It's really taken me about 3 years to figure it out, and apply it to the national forest. And I've gone from, maybe a mature buck encounter every 3 years or so to 1 or 2 every year. But I'm having a lot of trouble, kind of the way I categorize myself, kind of gone into that phase of trying to figure out how to execute in those final seconds. And I've blown the last 3 encounters with really nice bucks. All 3 would have been my biggest bow buck ever. Probably 2 were Pope and Young, and 1 doe, and 1 just happened just a few days ago. And it's a little bit of a combination of target panic, I think, and maybe a little lack of experience. But I don't really know what to do, as far as I don't step backwards and go, say I'm not going to hunt mature bucks, because I'm just figuring it out and it's getting exciting and I'm putting in the work and I'm finding these deer. But I don't, every time you mess one up, it's like the anxiety builds, and I don't really know how to come off of that, because I'm just thinking about the next encounter, how I'm going to come off of that panic and not screw the next one up. And I'm not really sure where to go from there. But I was curious if you experienced anything like that when you were younger, and you too, Josh. And I know you guys maybe killed a lot more deer before you started hunting mature deer, but I'm not really sure where to take it from here.
Yeah, that's a growing pain that'll go on forever, but you're going to constantly get better. And that's part of the growing. What you got to do is you got to analyze every one of those hunts and see and tell yourself what went wrong, what went right, and how to fix it, and continually try to improve. If you dwell on it and you do nothing and you just call it bad luck, that's where you have problems. Everything happens for a reason, and you have to analyze it and say, well, what happened here? What can I do about it to prevent it? And every time that something like that happens, you grow as a hunter. At least that's my opinion. What do you think, Josh?
Are you oh yeah, for sure. But are you struggling with like missing deer, or are you just struggling getting a shot off, Seth?
Sometimes it's literally struggling just to get the shot off. Last year, I just got my bow hung up. It was just like one limb that I missed that I didn't pull back out of the way. I couldn't, because we can't trim anything, so I had it, zip tied up, but caught my broadhead on it. He just heard my arrow bounce and left. And then just the other day, he came in right at dark just a few days ago. Enough shooting light, but with my naked eye, like when I drew, I was like, this deer's about to be dead. And then, for some reason, like I felt like I couldn't get a sight picture, like my peep sight was blurry, and I was just like, then I started to panic. I'm like, I'm about to mess this up, and like it just felt like my whole sight picture was blurry, and I couldn't even figure out why I couldn't even get the deer in there, and he's just, and next thing you know, he's gone. And
so there's there's something I want to recommend to you, because I did it been a while ago now when I started shooting a trad bow, but there's a guy named Joel Turner. He has a class called Shot IQ, and Joel, what he does for a living is he trains military and police officers how to shoot under pressure. That's what his like real job is, and he's transformed into like hunting and target shooters as well. Now he has like a class, and he does a really good job of like breaking you down mentally and giving you instructions on how to keep yourself composed during those moments. And I mean, obviously you're not shooting people like people in war and police officers are. Like that's what he specializes in, is getting their mind right to execute a good shot whenever it matters the most. Obviously way more important than what we're screwing around with deer on, but it's called Shot IQ. It's super cheap. It's not expensive. But it's online and stuff. It helped me a lot, man. Like just getting a good shot process down and what to think about while you're under pressure. Instead of letting your emotions take over, it's like gives you a process to go through whenever you're getting ready to shoot something. And it's good.
Right. And during the off season, I tried to do some 3D tournaments. I tried to do some competition stuff just to create, at least mimic it in the best way I could.
Mm-hmm.
Do a little hog hunting, but there's just something about the deer
I probably did a bad job of explaining what the class is about, but it's literally breaking your mind down to think differently whenever an animal's coming in, instead of losing your crap, essentially, you know.
Right.
And he has, like I said, he's not some Joe Blow guy. He's actually, that's what his real job is training police officers. So he kind of knows what he's talking about. But I would recommend it. It's a good thing to try, at least.
I appreciate y'all taking my call. Like I said, Dan, it's really cool to, it's not the same, but I think if I, listening to you over the years, taking the concepts themselves and applying them, down here in different terrains, and just the thought processes, not what you're actually doing, but the process. It's pretty cool how it changes your hunting game, and it's a lot more fun to get those encounters, and even from way down here. So I appreciate it, and appreciate you guys taking my call.
Thanks, Seth.
Thanks. Good luck.
Good luck, man. Let's do one more call, and we got one more, and then we'll get off here, everybody. Can you hear us, Brandon?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Let me get my camera going here. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. I just kind of want to get your guys' opinion on something. So something I kind of ran into last year was I found these doe bedding areas, and they weren't really marked up that much, but they were very high stem count areas. Now, I knew during the rut, obviously, bucks were looking for does, but I was a little concerned because it wasn't marked up that much, but there was so much sign. There were a lot of droppings. And I figured, man, these bucks really got to be in here coming the rut. And it turned out to be this year. I mean, today I saw a lot of bucks, but the sign was very sparse. Have you guys ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen areas that have really good buck activity that don't have a lot of sign. It can be the types of trees there are. It could be a lot of things. There wasn't really a lot of sign in the spot I've been the last couple of days, but there was bucks everywhere. I saw 17 deer, and there's a doe in heat, and it's a spot that's a really good spot every year. Not a lot of sign.
Yeah.
More terrain based and what's going on there. There's probably some good sign coming in and out of there from a distance, but when you actually got in there, it's not that great. You got to be able to just figure out that it's doe bedding. There's going to be bucks there.
Yeah. So I was seeing a lot of the sign by the ag fields, and new bucks were in there. But man, when I looked at it the winter, I was just looking at it. I knew it was just going to be good doe bedding, and bucks should be in the area. And then, sure enough, I mean, they were just in there like crazy. I mean, it was just wild to me because we're always talking about sign and seeing the scrapes and seeing the rubs, and I just wasn't seeing that in the winter, but had to believe that the bucks were getting in there. So I just want to know if you guys have ever seen that before.
You can get the opposite effect too. I mean, you can get like where there's a couple does bedding near a bunch of like poplar trees.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rub poplar trees, they'll rip up every freaking tree, and it'll look like there's a million bucks there.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
You can get the opposite too.
Sure. Why is that poplar trees in particular?
Yeah, they love those things. I don't know what it is about it, but
aren't they really, really hard to rub?
The smooth bark ones? No.
No, I thought they were harder wood. Oh, whatever. Anyways, I just had one more question.
Yeah.
What do you guys see with movement during the rut and the rain?
Light rain, they move really good.
Okay.
It's pouring, I don't see as much action.
Okay. All right. No,
Josh.
Yeah, it's the same. I don't set very often in the pouring rain just because we have camera gear and stuff. But man, if you can get out there in like a misty, drizzle, kind of nasty day, it can be a good set.
I did kill a really big buck one time in a thunderstorm. That was nasty, but that's the exception.
Is it the one where you got real sick and went to go look for it the next day?
Yeah.
When do you guys stop seeing the buck sign really start tapering off? You guys see it when really does are starting to come into heat? Do you guys see that really start to taper off? A lot of the rubbing, a lot of the scrapes.
Yeah, I still see it then. I think the most rubbing and scraping I see is like right now before
Right.
they're actually breeding. But during the breeding season,
Lockdown is what people call it.
all the way into early December, I see steady rubs and stuff popping up here, there, scrapes popping up here and there, all the way into second rut.
Sure. Okay. Cool. No, just wanted to
Periodic, I guess. You'll see bursts too. You'll see bursts of it, where all of a sudden in an area, just an isolated area, just because of a phase of does in or whatever.
Sure, if a buck comes loose and he's frustrated or whatever and just going wild. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, that's all I got for you boys. Thanks a lot for doing what you do. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandon. See you, man. All right. Let's see here. I want to answer this one question, Dan, because it's a kind of a good question. I know we've never had it on the podcast here, and it's just the bottom one. That's the only reason I saw it, guys. So I know we didn't get to a lot of the questions in the Q&A tonight, but Goomer22, he asked, has anyone ever done quota hunts, and do you approach them, differently, knowing many other hunters will be in that area? You ever done any quota hunts, Dan, where you get it drawn for an area and you got like a pile of guys going into an area for one day?
I have, but quota hunts that I've hunted are usually just a few guys, like one or two. But I've drawn quota hunts. So some of the conservancies I hunt are like that. They're quota as in the limited draw, right?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here in Indiana, we have like a few of them where they let a lot of people in at once, like in a day. It's it can be pretty rough.
Our quota hunts are usually 2 to 4 people. I mean, a conservancy I was hunting back in most of those videos I did from the conservancy. That one, each person got their own 40, and then there was one property that was like 120, and they allowed 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's not bad.
But some of them that I've hunted have 4 people. I know that Dave Greenhorn, he hunts a lot of quota properties, and he's usually on there with 3 or 4 people, 2 or 3. They can be pretty good. How we approach them, or how I approach them, is pretty much like we do a breakdown hunt where we go out of state or whatever. I map them out. Usually you can't pre-scout them. So I map them out, look at a map real well, figure out where I think they're bedding and stuff. Figure out what I think's going on. And then I go in with a pre-plan. And then when I hit it and I see stuff different, I alter my plan based on what I see. It's pretty much no different than what we do on our trips to Western Wisconsin, Michigan, or Indiana, or wherever I'm headed, or you're headed. You Ohio this week. Yeah.
We got a particular area around here where they have a muzzleloader hunt at the end of the year, and they seem to let an awful lot of people in there. And it's a place you can hunt, you can bow hunt it and stuff. But so if you know the area well, you can get into some areas where it's get away from a few people, or know some areas where people aren't going to be. I think if you could pre-scout those areas, that'd be a pretty big advantage. But
so you're talking quota with a gun?
Yeah, we got hunts in Indiana. There's a few of them down here in southern Indiana, at least, where you can you get picked a day. Like you'll go in there November 14th, your day, and you can go in with a gun. But there can be a lot of people in there. I mean, they let quite a few people. Like we have some military bases and stuff where they do that. People kill big deer. I mean, every year it seems like a couple people kill big deer on those quota hunts. But
that's a good point. That Fort McCoy was kind of like a quota hunt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Portions of it are, right? I think there's a limited number of people who get a tag for bow, but the gun hunting seemed to be quota hunting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. in the middle of the fort, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlie Swamp. You remember Charlie Swamp, right?
Yep.
That's a place where they do a quota hunt for muzzleloader during December.
Mm-hmm.
But they let a lot of people in there, man. There's a truck parked in everywhere in there. So anyway, good question. So, all right, everybody, we're going to hop off here. There's quite a few people on tonight. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video. It really helps out. And leave a comment if you're just watching this afterwards too on the YouTube video itself. So
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody, yeah, good luck. Oh, we'll probably do another one this week. Well, in the next few days, because Dan's going to be at my house. So we'll just do one together and maybe get the other guys that are going to be here on and chit chat about probably nothing, but it'll be fun at least. So, all right, everybody, have a good night. Good luck hunting this week. See ya.